Welcome back to City and State TV. I'm Morgan Pehme here with my friend, colleague, and fellow troublemaker, Gerson Borrero. We're joined now by the minority leader of the New York State Senate, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
It is great to be here.
How are you enjoying SOMOS so far?
I've been here just about a half a day, and it is really very, very exciting. The energy is high. People are really focused on what we could do to help our communities move forward, and it's just, the time I've been here has been really great. I'm looking forward to what happens today.
Well, you know what a small community our political world is, and right across the way is a restaurant, and I saw that you were having breakfast with our new Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul. Tell us everything that you talked about at breakfast.
The eggs were great. Listen, the good thing about the new Lieutenant Governor is that she is a professional. She is a seasoned political veteran. She is a former congresswoman, and she is open and accessible. She wants to make relationships grow. She wants to be able to define her role, as well as obviously be supportive of the governor and the administration and everything that's happening there. But she's going to be, I think, a force to be reckoned with. Certainly, there's not been a Democratic woman lieutenant governor since sometime in the 70s. So she is charting an important course for people to follow. And I think she takes it very seriously, and we're going to have hopefully an ongoing relationship which will only strengthen all of us and strengthen the state.
Bienvenida a City and State. Vamos en español ahora. Look at her. She's
bien, gracias.
Andrea Stewart-Cousins, I'm so glad that I get a chance to talk to you because, by the way, full disclosure, she is my senator.
That's
so
right.
And I'm proud of that. But
I'm
also
proud to have you.
Thank you so much. She gets along marvelously with my wife. This is the first time we actually sit down and have a conversation. But looking from outside into the process, you just spoke very highly of our new Lieutenant Governor-elect. Here we have a party, your party, the Democratic Party. I'm not affiliated with any party, who actually, I don't know by intention or default, they just don't realize what the state is. So you have all the top tier, the Attorney General, you have the Controller, you have the Governor, you have the people in the back room that make the deals, of which you were excluded. I'm saying it, she's not saying it. Trips to Israel, I mean, it's like you're not included. And all of a sudden they pick a white woman to run as a Lieutenant Governor. And I say there's something wrong here in understanding what the composition of the state is right now. So they couldn't find a qualified black woman, a qualified Asian woman, or a qualified Latina. And this, it puzzles me because I'm still trying to wrap my hands around this Democratic Party of New York State, which you so much love and protect. So they needed a women's equality party. So do we need a Latinos equality party? Do we need a black equality party to be able to make them understand that there's a reset here that happened in the nation, in the state?
Leader, this is why I described him as a troublemaker.
That was the first softball question.
There were so many questions there. I just, listen, I think that there is a reality that Democrats have embraced, and we do have a big tent, and we do have opportunities that have not been presented, frankly, in the other party. I mean, I am working in a chamber that, for example, my Republican colleagues have no people of color. They had fewer women. So in my conference, which I've always highlighted, we have upstate, downstate, we have more women, we have black, white, Latino, we have an openly gay senator. We have got a diversity of New York State, which I think understands what New Yorkers want and can really speak to a variety of demographics and variety of needs. So, I think that the reset, as you say, continues to happen, and I'm just hopeful that we will continue to encourage all of these different people who deserve a seat at the table to be inspired by what it is that happens and also take a chance and run, because quite frankly, the Democrats have proven again and again that we are able to find spaces and places for people of a variety of backgrounds.
Leader, you talk about the big tent of the Democratic Party in New York State, but is it also a big tent from an ideological standpoint? There was a lot of talk about the IDC as not being real Democrats, as betraying the Democratic Party. I mean, is that a fair criticism of the IDC? I mean, are they not Democrats like all the other Democrats?
Well, I'm not disparaging people for saying they're Democrats or not, but you talk about a reset. Look at there's a national reset. How many, say, Republican senators do you think are going to come now and empower the Democrats on the U.S. Congress?
None.
Okay. So obviously, ideologically, there's a very big tent, and I think, as I've said, and I've said it over and over again, when voters send you to office under the auspices of a party, I think it's fair that they would think that you would conference with that party and that you would be part of empowering that philosophy, that party, and growing with it. I would hope, and I mean, certainly we'll see what happens, but I will hope that Democrats will come back together as Democrats. We can win. We will win. And I think that if we start kind of aligning ourselves with one another and just, working towards making sure that the people of New York have the best representation they have, and really stick with our ideals and stick with each other, I think we'll find ourselves going further, faster, and it'll benefit everybody.
But Senator, last night when my colleague Ashley Hupfel and I sat down with Senator Klein, I mean, he indicated to us that he was looking to continue the coalition partnership that the IDC has had with the Republicans. But earlier this year, there was a much kind of ballyhooed, kissing and making up of the two factions of the Democratic Party. Do you feel like that return has been that you've been betrayed?
Well, I haven't been betrayed because I haven't heard anything different from what he and I.
Let's take that as a hypothetical.
If
the IDC continued with the Republicans, do you think that will have been a betrayal of what you agreed upon earlier this year?
I can't say it any clearer than I said it before. I think that people have every reason to want their representatives who they vote for on certain lines, who make certain assertions, to keep those promises and move forward with the party they ran on. I would hope that we'll be able to do just that. And obviously Senator Klein and I will be speaking. And as I said, the reality is, I think everyone knows that the Democrats in the Senate will get the majority. So, whether it's this moment or whether it's a few months from now or a couple of years from now, it will happen. And so, quite frankly, the focus has got to be for us to maintain our focus and our discipline and understand that this is inevitable. I would hope that we'll be able to work together as a cohesive group, again, to make sure that we are as strong and as good as New Yorkers expect us to be on their behalf.
Senator, you're not going to divulge the conversation you had with the Lieutenant Governor, and I'm sure that it had plenty of meat that you bit into, but what could you have possibly discussed with her that the governor already is not aware of? And is he expected for you to now walk her through the ropes, if you will? I understand there's something here, but there is an agenda. You're clear on what the agenda is in terms of people that are excluded right now, people of color, people that are left out of the party of the process, people that are openly disrespected. And I know you're a great Democrat, but the optics were not good in terms of what happened in the first term. And when you assumed your role, that was actually sort of dissed publicly by Senator Klein. You're not saying it, we see it, those of us that cover, but we understand the game. So how do you then now further this? Are you now going to just be left to talking to the Lieutenant Governor? Is she in charge now of moving this forward when we know that it's Andrew Cuomo all the time? I mean, he is the governor, he wanted the job, so we're holding him accountable. What's your agenda? I know there's an agenda for the party, I know there's an agenda that the governor wants. what do you bring in terms of what the people are expecting you to get back to them?
Well, I think we have to bring what they sent us here to do. We are still looking to build our economy. We're still looking to broaden our jobs. We're still looking to make sure that our kids get quality public education, that we have access to health care and housing. And we're going to continue to do those things that we as Democrats care about. And obviously the unfinished business, women's equality, this kind of thing. It's not about being relegated to speak to the lieutenant governor. The lieutenant governor is a woman who is in power, and I want to speak to her.
Okay.
I want her to be speaking to me. But it's not going to be in lieu of speaking to the governor, because obviously the governor, I'm sure the governor is very, very interested in maintaining the relationships with the Democrats in the Senate, because again, our being empowered is inevitable, and I'm sure, again, he concluded before that philosophically he's not able to pass some of the things he really cares about with a Republican majority. I mean, that's just his reality. So, it's one of the reasons why that he decided that he would publicly say that he was going to support the Democrats in our quest to become the majority. And it's part of the reason why Senator Klein said the same thing. And we had an unprecedented coalition of labor unions, the mayor, so on and so forth, saying that, in order to get our agenda passed, we need to be together. That holds true, whether or not we made it this time or not. So I'm sure the governor and I will continue to speak. Our conference will continue to stay focused, and we will continue to push to get things done.
Does this reset, most of us perceive that the governor wants it this way with a majority Republican. Is the reset good for people that actually have been, except for you as example in your position, and other legislators who are black and Puerto Rican, and is it better this way? If it works for the governor, how can we make it work? Do you have that in mind? Is it a better reset now?
Well, listen, we all know that for all of us, the best would be for us to have the majority. We felt the momentum going our way, and of course it was a national kind of tsunami as it came to Democrats, and so we didn't make it that way. So I won't say that it's better, but I think that on many levels it's clearer, because one of the problems with this kind of hybrid majority coalition, when we had the majority, I mean, the reality, and I know that your viewers and readers know, that in 2012, 33 Democrats were elected. And this group of independent Democrats had been apart since 2010. And once we actually were in the majority, this group decided to align themselves with Republicans, this 5-member group, and empowered the Republicans who were legitimately in the minority to be the policymakers in our chamber. And, it led to being able to do some things in like raising the minimum wage, but not enough really to lift people out of poverty. And, we'll take 9 points of the women's agenda, but we won't, codify the national laws, this kind of stuff. So, I mean, and then when the things would come, the DREAM Act, maybe not, and then everybody points at each other, well, we would have been able to do it if you did it, or if they said it, and, it became very, very confusing, I think, for most people, and very frustrating for those of us who understood that, the majority is generally the people who make the policy, and at least you know who to blame, who to applaud, who to say, well done. And so now, I mean, in a minority status, which we do not have the majority, then just like, again, on a national level, it's very, very clear who is in charge of the policy and who is either promoting something or blocking something. You can't say that if we had every single one of you, then it would have happened. And it's cleaner. So, and it allows us, again, to still keep our eye on the prize, because, again, I don't believe that we will not be in the majority. I believe we will be, and I believe it'll be sooner than later. We keep our eyes on the prize, keep our focus on making sure New York State realizes that when we are given the opportunity to govern, we will be able to govern in, yes, our big tent way, but with an understanding that it is one big state and we're responsible for every part of it. and we take that very, very seriously, and we'll be able to do the job. So it's always for us, this making sure that as we're setting the agenda and we're setting the table, we're also setting the expectations of our conference for New Yorkers in a very, very positive way.
And they're just sitting at the table.
That's absolutely. I mean, there's no point setting it if I'm not sitting there.
Leader, talking about the Republican wave, the actual vote was a lot more like a trickle, right? I mean, from the last midterm election, we lost 1 million votes, which is absolutely calamitous for democracy, in my opinion. And I've talked to a number of members of your conference who say we need same-day registration, we need early voting, we need to embrace all these mechanisms that would drive up voter turnout. But I don't see the leadership taking this on as a signature issue. I don't see the governor taking this on as a signature issue and saying, if people aren't participating, we don't have a government that's really representative of the people. Will you grab that bull by the horns and make driving up voter turnout by increasing the mechanisms by people in New York can vote as one of your signature issues?
Well, I think it's very important, and I must say I have the early voting bill. I have the early voting bill with the speaker. So the reality is that I've had a lot of bills, anti-voter suppression and so on. I've gotten some passed when we were in the majority. I got a couple of bills passed that would allow for more people who are eligible to actually enjoy the franchise of voting. And I have always had this but again, that was one of those things where last year that bill was there, the speaker had the bill, but it could not get through the majority coalition. Nobody wanted to take that up. I think we have to take that up. I think it's important to again, invite people to understand how important their participation in this democratic act is. But I think that people get excited a lot of times by showing what government can actually do for them as well. So there's a lot of things that we can do. We can make sure that they're hearing the message about why you should care about government, the fact that government is going to impact you whether you're in it, whether you're actively participating or not, and that the people who are representing you, the people who want you to show up, are actually listening to you and caring about you and addressing your issues in many, many ways. So I think we can do a lot to help pull up the vote, and I'm sure we'll be doing that over the next couple of years and beyond.
But, Leader, don't you think that message has been articulated to the people that it's important to vote, and yet people aren't voting? Is that a repudiation of our politics? Is that a repudiation of our approach to governance in New York State?
Well, I don't think it's a New York State issue. I think it's a national issue.
Aren't we near number 50th in the nation with voter participation? And after this election, we probably will be number 50. Worse than Mississippi, worse than Alabama.
I'll bail you out on this one, because the president did say that 2/3. That was the strong message. 2/3 stayed home nationwide. So I think that what you're saying is really a broader problem of both parties.
It is.
So I think that we can have this conversation later on as we wrap this up, but I think that we have this idealistic view that somehow this democracy is perfect. I think what it indicates in terms of the United States, that it is not a perfect model for the rest of the world to follow.
I like how we're working together to bail out the leader.
I appreciate both of you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate really the conversation and the fact. I mean, the fact is what you said is true, and what we said is true. It may be a New York State issue, but it's a national issue. People are, for many reasons, all of which we obviously don't know, are very, very disconnected from what is governing their everyday process and practically everything in it. And so how do we reconnect? And a lot of it is the environment. A lot of it is that there's so much information coming in so many different, we weren't doing this, X number of years ago. Now we've got technology that brings so much information, right, wrong, and different, some vetted, some not. And I think people at some point just maybe tune out to a lot of different processes.
Do you talk about technology? Do you think that internet voting is a possibility?
I think it's inevitable. I do, there are so many things that we could do that could make it easier for eligible voters to have their voices heard. And obviously we've got whole new generations that only know about interaction, with this technology. And I think it's inevitable. But again, it takes vision. It takes a real desire, frankly, to connect with people every single day of we as public servants really need to make a concerted effort. You can't just, get to the election day or 3 weeks before, and all of a sudden, everybody gets, a bunch of mail, or everybody sees terrible images about how everybody's really, the devil, and none of that. I mean,
well, some people are the devil.
but in these commercials, almost everybody is. It's hard to get people excited.
But I think where I do agree with my colleague Morgan is that the fact that aside from everything else, there is the performance level. Here you are, and not you, but the body you represent, elected officials throughout the nation, world actually. You ask for a job. You ask for the people's confidence, not you personally,
right,
Senator. And then you have the scoundrels, the thieves, the people that betray the trust, the public trust. They take the money that doesn't belong to them. They abuse the power of using whatever. I mean, we have a case now allegedly by even people who you perceive as squeaky clean, like Scott Stringer, to take it away from you at the legislature. That confidence is lost because you wind up with people that wind up being thieves. They go to prison. They have been convicted. So how do you, that's the basic problem. People are saying, pillo, maldito, malo. Do you understand that?
I do understand that, and I said, unfortunately, the problem, again, what I was saying is that if we're not making the concerted effort on a daily basis to model what we really are doing in terms of public service, and how they're the majority of the members in certainly my chamber and every other chamber are honest, hardworking people who are really there for public service. If the only time they really hear about us is in when things go bad, and then the only time they really hear a lot about us is when we're calling each other bad things, it gets hard, especially in the crush of the everyday events in people's lives, to really be able to discern who is this and who is that. And that's why, frankly, on a daily basis, and again, not just me, many of my colleagues, really find ways to outreach to people in the communities that we represent, so that they can see the behaviors of somebody who is a legitimate public service. Now, I want the bad apples out. I want them outed. I want them exposed, but I want them to be individuals who have, these issues and unacceptable. And meanwhile, the people who are really, really true to what it is they came to, not for the power, not for the money, but to, actually are public service, not entrepreneurs actual people who are trying to solve real world problems for people. I want them to be seen more all the time, so that people will be inspired, again, to actually say, I want to do public service. To know that the bad guys are exposed and thrown out, so that we leave the people who are really serious in fertile earth to be able to grow and to make government work.
Do politicians in general and the colleagues who work, do you sometimes, again, not you, but the entire, do you sometimes forget that you actually asked for a job and that you're working for the people? Is that the trappings of this power and that you're doing that, do people need a reset on that? Talk about reset, I keep using that word because it's a job that you asked for, and people give you a job and you're working for the people. So,
well, I think, again, most of my colleagues understand that, and I think that, because the media markets are the way they are, again, it's over and over again who doesn't get it. But, it's up to us who are actually doing what people sent us to do, to get out there more, to make sure people are able to see us, hear us, touch us, know that we're fighting for the things they care about, and again, inspire them to come and join the fight. Either as you vote, as you participate in the political process, as you become an activist in your own community, as you take on, the legislative process and the dynamics of government, please get involved, because there is room for people, all kinds of people, to bring the best ideas and the best strategies to government. And everybody's not a crook, everybody's not a bandito. There are many
But many of them are.
And those people are being exposed, and they are being, invited out. So there is room for good people to come in and get the job done.
I just have one last question for you, and I don't know what made me think of this, but I've seen Senator John Sampson walking around, and I was wondering, are you going to invite him to be a part of your conference in this upcoming session?
We had not had that conversation at all. I know, again, Senator Sampson has been reelected, and he's, I guess, moving towards resolving his issues, and I'm sure that's what he's focused on.
Minority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, the first woman elected to lead a legislative conference in New York State history. It's a great pleasure to have you
Thank you
here
so
at the
much.
City and State Hub in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico. Thank you for tolerating myself and my colleague
Oh, it was
here.
great. Thank
Gracias,
you.
senadora.
Gracias, señor.
Gracias.